August 4th is not just a date on the calendar, it's a spiritual turning point marked by divine orchestration that has been in motion long before the chosen ones could even recognize it. Many have been walking through seasons of uncertainty, prolonged waiting, and hidden preparation. These were not idle times, they were sacred, consecrated periods where heaven was silently lining things behind the scenes. For those who have felt stuck, overlooked, or delayed, this moment comes like a prophetic trumpet. The wait has not been in vain. Every unanswered prayer, every moment of confusion, every tear cried in solitude was part of a divine pattern being sewn with threads unseen. What seemed like silence was actually strategy, and what felt like abandonment was actually alignment. There was a reason why certain doors didn't open earlier, why some relationships fell apart, why opportunities slipped through your fingers, because they weren't aligned with the divine timeline meant to carry you into your appointed destiny. Now, that divine timeline has arrived at a crossroad where the spiritual realm is pouring out what was long held back. August 4th represents a portal, a divine checkpoint in the spirit, where revelations are unveiled and blessings once delayed are finally released. Those who are spiritually sensitive can already feel the shift. Something in the atmosphere feels different. The weight that has been pressing on your soul begins to feel lighter, not because the circumstances have changed yet, but because your spirit senses the release. It is no longer a matter of if but when. And the when is now. God never forgets his promises. Sometimes, in the midst of waiting, the mind wanders into dangerous territory. Doubt creeps in. You question your worth, your path, even your hearing of God's voice. You begin to wonder whether you made it all up, whether the dream was real, whether you actually were chosen or just desperate for something more. But August 4th comes with a divine message. It was all real. You were never imagining things. You were never delusional. The wait wasn't punishment, it was placement. While the world thought you were dormant, God was making you dangerous. He was equipping you with discernment, with spiritual authority, and with endurance forged in the furnace of patience. Now is the moment where what was whispered in the dark is about to be shouted from the rooftops. Those who dismissed your calling will soon witness your crowning. The vision that made no sense to others, and at times confused even you, will suddenly become clear in the light of divine fulfillment. Revelations are not only spiritual insights but also confirmations. You will begin to see tangible signs of unusual favor, unexpected opportunities, divine connections, all pointing to the truth that something has been released in your favor. The veil has been lifted. The codes are being unlocked. You are no longer waiting, you are receiving. Many of you have been on the edge, almost letting go, almost giving up, almost compromising your faith for the sake of relief. But this divine moment is your confirmation that relief is coming not by your compromise but by your consistency. The very fact that you held on in silence, that you remained faithful without applause, that you kept your integrity in a world obsessed with shortcuts. This is why the heavens have chosen to release something powerful in your direction. This moment is not random, it is earned through divine obedience and sustained by unwavering trust. God is not in a rush, but he is always on time. That's why this release is happening now, not a day early or a moment late. The spiritual harvest connected to this state is not generic, it's tailored specifically for you. What is being released is not just blessings but blueprints, strategic downloads of what to do next, where to move, what to pursue, and who to align with. It is revelation not just for celebration but for action. It is the unveiling of purpose in its raw, undiluted form. The fog that covered your path is lifting. The noise of confusion is being silenced. You are about to hear God more clearly than you ever have before, because revelation and release are connected. The delay was never about punishment. It was about the perfect conditions being created for your rise. A seed planted in dry soil will die, but the seed planted in the right environment will flourish. August 4th is the rain. It is the divine moisture falling on the areas of your life that have felt barren and lifeless. Suddenly, what was dry begins to blossom. The dreams that lay dormant are now being resurrected. Your spirit, which had grown weary, is being revived. You are about to see things differently, and not because the world has changed, but because your spiritual eyes have been opened. This is the time when what God spoke privately to your spirit becomes publicly undeniable. There will be a shift in how people perceive you. Some will be in awe, others in denial, and some in resistance, but none will be able to ignore what is unfolding around you. This is the divine spotlight, not born out of ego but out of evidence that obedience still matters, that purity still wins, that divine timing is real. This release is not just for material elevation, it is for spiritual impact. You are being positioned to influence, to speak, to lead, and to carry light into dark spaces. Expect to feel uncomfortable in the coming days, and not because you are out of alignment but because you are expanding. Growth never feels easy. Even blessings can stretch us, but know that every stretch is proof that you are being fitted for something larger than what you were originally prepared for. Your territory is being enlarged. Your voice is being amplified. Your presence is becoming a divine signal that something holy is happening on the earth. For the chosen ones, this date signifies a shift from being hidden to being highlighted, not by the world's standards but by heaven's declaration. You were never meant to blend in. You were designed to be a spiritual disruptor, a divine instrument of change. And now, with this release, you will begin to operate in that calling with confidence and clarity. The weight you've carried has produced toil. The silence you endured has produced strength. The waiting you survived has produced wisdom. Now, all of it is being released, and not in chaos, but in divine order. The silence and delay that so many chosen ones have experienced were never signs of rejection, abandonment, or divine forgetfulness. They were tests, of deep, spiritual trials designed to refine, strengthen, and prepare those called to a higher path. In a world that moves at a rapid pace and glorifies instant results, waiting feels like punishment. But in the kingdom of God, waiting is often the very tool used to stretch character, sharpen discernment, and solidify purpose. The silence you faced wasn't empty, it was filled with divine intention. You weren't being ignored, you were being observed. Every response, every emotion, every internal struggle you endured in that quiet place was seen. Heaven was watching to see how you would respond when no one was clapping, when no answer came, when the journey seemed endless. For the chosen ones, the delay was a hidden classroom. Lessons were taught in this form of disappointment, betrayal, and isolation. These weren't setbacks, they were spiritual shaping tools. The process was hard because your calling is heavy. Great assignments come with great preparation, and that preparation doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens in the desert, where distractions are stripped away and the only voice you can lean on is God's. The delay forced you to dig deeper, to confront things within yourself that you didn't even know were there: insecurities, fears, pride, doubt. The longer you waited, the more God revealed to you, not just about your purpose, but about who you really are. You were being purified not for punishment, but for positioning. The silence served another purpose too. It exposed who and what was never meant to walk with you into the next season. When nothing was moving, and everything felt still, the true hearts of people around you were revealed. Some disappeared, some turned their backs, others mocked the stillness, doubting your calling just because they couldn't see any visible progress. But their absence was necessary. God allowed the silence so that you could separate from distractions disguised as support. You had to learn who was truly aligned with your spirit, not just your success. The delay became a divine filter, removing attachments that would have compromised your elevation had they stayed with you. Not only did the delay strengthen your spirit, but it also heightened your discernment. When you're in a season where nothing seems to be moving, your spiritual senses become more sensitive. You start hearing God more clearly. You begin to understand the subtleties of His guidance. You learn to move not by sight, but by faith. This is where real maturity develops, and not in answered prayers, but in unanswered ones. The kind of maturity that can only be birthed in stillness, where you learn to trust the whisper instead of the thunder, where you realize that silence doesn't mean absence, that God is often closest when He appears quiet. The chosen ones were not called to live ordinary lives, and that's why their process is anything but ordinary. The waiting season was a sacred passage that most people avoid because it's uncomfortable, unpredictable, and deeply humbling. But those who embrace it are transformed. They become unshakable. The longer you stayed faithful during the delay, the stronger your foundation became. You've been rooted in truth, not hype, in purpose, not popularity, in God's approval, not man's validation, and that is what makes the upcoming shift so undeniable. You won't be moved by applause or shaken by criticism, because your strength was forged in silence. The waiting season also forced you to reevaluate your motives. Why do you want what you want? Is your desire for elevation rooted in ego or in divine purpose? These were questions God asked in the quiet. The longer you waited, the more your heart was purified. You learned to want God more than you wanted results. You stopped chasing outcomes and started chasing alignment. You surrendered your timeline for His, and in that surrender, everything began to change. The silence broke your pride. The delay humbled your ambition, but in doing so, it brought your spirit into perfect alignment with heaven's agenda. You began to realize that delay is not denial, but divine calibration. Like a bow being pulled back before it's launched forward, you were being positioned for a greater release. The further the pull, the greater the launch. The delay was pulling you back, not to hold you down, but to prepare you for the velocity of what's coming next. What you thought was a pause was actually momentum being stored. Now that the appointed time is arriving, the release will be quick, intense, and undeniable. But it had to happen in divine order, not rushed by human expectation. Many chosen ones were tempted to move ahead of God's timing during the waiting. The frustration was real. The silence was deafening. The pressure to make something happen grew heavier with each passing day. But those who resisted that temptation, who stayed still even when movements seemed logical, are now being honored. There is a weight to spiritual obedience, especially when it contradicts everything the world says you should do. But that obedience didn't go unnoticed. Heaven took account of every moment you chose faith over fear, patience over panic, trust over turmoil. And now, those decisions are being rewarded in a way that only God can orchestrate. The waiting season also taught you how to depend on God in a deeper way. When you had no answers, no clarity, no open doors, you learned to lean on His Word. When nothing external affirmed your journey, you discovered how to be sustained by His promises alone. That kind of dependence doesn't fade with success, it grows stronger. You're not stepping into your next season with arrogance, but with reverence. You know who carried you, you know who sustained you, and that awareness becomes your anchor. You're not building on sand, you're building on the rock. Even now, as August unfolds, you can sense something is different, not just around you, but within you. You feel more focused, more grounded, more prepared. That's not by accident. That's the result of everything the silence taught you. You are not the same person who entered the delay. You are wiser, stronger, sharper. You carry weight in the Spirit now. You walk with authority, not because of titles or recognition, but because of what you survived. You were tested and found faithful, and that faithfulness is being answered with fulfillment. The delay gave you time to let go of illusions and step into authenticity. It stripped away the masks and forced you to confront the truth of who you are, what you carry, and why you were called. There's no need to prove yourself anymore. The silence proved you. And now that the season is shifting, the preparation that was done in private will be revealed in power. The chosen ones are stepping forward, not as people chasing favor, but as vessels ready to release it. The delay wasn't wasted time, it was transformation disguised as stillness. A supernatural surprise is unfolding, confirming that the wait was never in vain. For so long, the chosen ones have walked through shadows, holding on to promises with no visible proof, clutching tightly to the whisper of God when all physical signs seemed to contradict His word. And now, just as many were reaching the edge of exhaustion, as doubts were beginning to swirl in their hearts, something unexpected is shifting in the atmosphere. The energy feels different. The weight in the Spirit has changed. The pressure was not to break you up, it was the indicator that birth was near. The supernatural surprise that is coming is not random, it is the direct result of your faith, your endurance, and your willingness to believe when there was nothing left to hold on to but the Word of God alone. This surprise does not come in ordinary packaging. It's not something you could have predicted, strategized for, or manipulated into being. It comes as a divine interruption, a sudden shift that redefines everything. The very areas of your life that have felt stale, dry, or stuck are now being touched by God's hand. Supernatural surprises don't just change circumstances, they redefine identity. They awaken you to who you truly are and what has always been hidden within you. This is the kind of divine unfolding that reminds you that God was never late. He was simply preparing the stage so that when the moment arrived, it would be unmistakably Him. The surprise carries revelation, restoration, and elevation. Things that were stolen from you at time, opportunities, connections, confidence are being returned in ways that feel unreal to the natural mind. The enemy tried to convince you that your best days were behind you, that you had missed your window, that too much damage had been done. But God is revealing that He was never finished. In fact, He was just getting started. The surprise is not just about giving you back what you lost, it's about giving you what you never even thought to ask for. It's exceedingly, abundantly above all that you asked, imagined, or even dared to dream. This moment is where divine alignment meets divine timing. You were kept hidden for a reason. Your isolation was protection. Your invisibility was divine strategy. Now, when the surprise begins to unfold, The world will see the glory that was being cultivated in the dark. This surprise does not come because you earned it through perfection. It comes because you stayed faithful through imperfection. It is grace. It is favor. It is the reward of the remnant, those who stood firm while everything around them was shaking. The surprise will silence the lies. It will vindicate your name. It will restore what was broken. And it will announce your arrival not just in the physical realm but in the spiritual realm where your authority is being recognized. The supernatural surprise is wrapped in divine acceleration. Things that would have taken years are about to happen suddenly. Delays are breaking. Chains are falling. Prayers that seemed forgotten are being answered in waves. One breakthrough will trigger another, and then another. You will move from season to season not with striving, but with grace. This is not about hostility, it's about heaven's favor resting upon your shoulders. You will find yourself in rooms you didn't apply for, sitting at tables you didn't fight for, walking through doors that seemed permanently locked. This is the hand of God, marking you openly for what you were always anointed to carry. This surprise will come with confirmation. You will begin to see signs everywhere, through people, through messages, through moments that feel too timely to be coincidence. God is speaking in ways that bypass logic and touch your spirit directly. That inner knowing you've had, that gut feeling that something big is coming, is being proven right. You weren't crazy to believe. You weren't not held a Macron V to hope. You were discerning a spiritual reality before it became visible in the natural. That kind of spiritual sight is rare, and it is the reason you are about to receive something rare in return. The chosen ones are being surprised not just to bless them, but to position them. You're not just receiving something, you're being assigned to something. This supernatural moment will launch you into your next level of purpose. You will be called to speak, to lead, to influence in ways that stretch you, but also fulfill you. This is why you couldn't afford to quit during the silent season. This is why you had to walk alone for so long. God wasn't just preparing a gift, He was preparing you. Now, the two collide. The gift and the vessel are ready to meet, and when they do, nothing will be able to stop the momentum that is birth. You will know this surprise is divine because of the peace that comes with it. It will not feel forced. It will not bring confusion. It will feel like alignment. It will feel like something inside you has clicked into place. That's how you'll know it's not just a good thing, it's a God thing. The things that used to make you anxious will no longer rattle you. The people who once overlooked you will no longer intimidate you. The doors that were once closed will no longer frustrate you, because what is coming will affirm everything God has whispered to you in secret. It will remind you that you were never being ignored, that you were being hidden for impact. This surprise will also expose the hearts of those around you. Some will rejoice with you, others will retreat from you. Some will honor your process, others will question your blessing, but none will be able to deny that something supernatural has taken place. Your life is about to become a testimony of what God can do with someone who refused to give up. You were broken, but not destroyed. You were tested, but not taken out, and now you are about to walk in the kind of favor that causes people to ask, how did that happen? There's a beauty in divine surprises. They happen when you least expect them, but they carry exactly what you need. You didn't even know how much you needed this until it arrived. You didn't realize how tired your spirit had become, how much hope had been drained, how weary your heart had grown. But the moment this surprise hits your life, joy will return, energy will rise, your soul will remember what it feels like to dream again, to believe again, to move forward without fear or hesitation. This is the kind of moment that becomes a marker in your life, yet a moment you'll always look back on and say, "That's when everything changed." What's unfolding is not just about personal breakthrough, it's about divine positioning. You are being placed where your voice, your gifts, your calling can impact others on a greater level. This surprise is the door, but your obedience will be the key that unlocks what's next. You have been entrusted with this moment because you proved you could be trusted in the silence. Now heaven is placing something in your hands that will ripple far beyond you. This is not just favor, it is divine strategy in motion. Chosen one, everything you've endured, the silence, the delays, the heartbreaks, and the long nights, was not for nothing. You were being built in private for a public moment of divine unfolding. August was never meant to be just another month for you, and it was a set time marked by heaven, destined to reveal everything you've been faithfully holding onto. The signs are all aligning, the pressure is shifting into purpose, and the wait has reached its final moment. God never forgot you. In fact, the supernatural surprise that's about to hit your life will make up for every moment you felt overlooked, every tear you cried alone, every sacrifice you made in secret. You are stepping into a new chapter, not by chance but by divine appointment. This is your time, and nothing can stop what has already been written. The release is real. The shift is now, and the world is about to witness what only heaven has seen until now. Thank you for taking the time to receive this word with an open heart and a spirit of faith. Your presence here means more than you know. Whether you've been walking this path for a long time or just stepped into this revelation, know that you are not alone. You are chosen, you are protected, and your story is far from over. It's just beginning to unfold in glory. If this message spoke to your spirit, share it with someone who needs that same reminder. Stay grounded, stay faithful, and above all, stay ready. God's not done, not even close. Blessings to you on your journey ahead. Until next time, stay powerful, stay prayerful, and thank you for being here.